intro. First of all, I just want to say awesome speech, Nikita. It's a tough one to back up, but I'll try my hardest. I'll just share my screen. You guys see that okay?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. All right, we'll get into it. Hi, everyone. My name's Nick, and today I'm going to talk to you about the importance of stakeholder management and how vital this is in the world of product. So, yeah, I mean, as I touched on in the intro there, I've been in product for a bit over 3 years now. So by no means am I an industry veteran, but I feel like I've got enough experience to share a few learnings with you today. So yeah, my career started as a fresh-faced graduate here at WestPac. I had a strong passion for business and finance, but I didn't quite know which area I wanted to get into. So I was lucky to get on the grad program, spend some rotations in different areas of the bank. So I gathered some pretty sweet experiences from this. But yeah, I still didn't quite know what niche I wanted to get into. But as it happened to be, I was sitting on the same floor as the product managers at the time. And, as a little naive 21-year-old, I was quite, I thought these guys were pretty cool. They'd hop out of the elevators in their fancy suits, and they'd gather around the coffee machine and indulge in some what looked like sophisticated conversation. It seemed like they knew every person in the company. They were so busy talking to everyone and negotiating deals, and then they'd go bury themselves in their work, and they just had this particular steeze about them, and I thought it was pretty cool. I was quite intrigued. However, unfortunately, none of my formal rotations allowed me to spend time in product, so I didn't get that opportunity. It wasn't until I invited a few of them out for a coffee that I started to learn more about it. And before you know it, I had a job as a product analyst and landed my first job. I haven't looked back since. It's such an awesome space. So yeah, product management is such an interesting role. I could go on all day about it. For me, I can't talk to every industry, but for me in banking, no one day is the same. One day you might be working on a marketing task, or legal, or change management, financial forecasting. The list is endless, really. And but I mean, above all, I think there's one skill that trumps all of those, no matter what skill you're talking about, and that's stakeholder management. It's funny because when I first approached these product guys for coffee, they kept going on about stakeholder management and how important it was. And in my head, I was like, that doesn't sound right. Product is about being a specialist in that product, knowing everything it is about it, doing all the analytics and stuff. But what I soon came to realize was the soft skills, such as stakeholder management, are just as important as the technical skills. So let's set the scene a little bit. I've got a scenario for you. I want you to picture yourself in these shoes. So you were the key product manager on this big project at your company, and you're implementing a new change that hasn't been done before, and it's going to impact quite a large number of customers. It's a pretty big deal. I'm talking very big deal. You're simplifying one of your key products. People are going to be asking a lot of questions. There's no process to follow. You've got stakeholders coming at you left, right, and centre, and they're worried that their business unit won't be looked after correctly, or they won't be engaged. Everyone has a different opinion. People are looking to you for direction. So you're in the deep end here. You don't, it hasn't been done before, this kind of change, and so there's no process to follow. So you've just got to back yourself. All your customer testing and your research and skills are going to, be there for you to fall back on. Everyone's counting on you to deliver and satisfy their individual needs. So the pressure's on. So that's kind of our scenario. We'll come back to that later. So what I've described is essentially a day in the life of a product manager. For me at least. I know different industries are different, but I just think that no matter how big or small, stakeholder management is key. No matter what kind of change you're trying to deliver, and if done incorrectly, this can have a huge impact on not only your project but your company or your personal reputation. If you screw it up, people might not trust you on a big project in the future. So the consequences can be pretty dire. So the agenda for my talk today, we're going to run through what exactly is stakeholder management, and then we're going to touch on some common mistakes and how we can avoid them. So I guess a stakeholder is essentially a party that has an interest in your project or your business, and they can either affect, so internal stakeholders, or they can be affected, your customers or your external stakeholders. And stakeholder management is the process which you organise, monitor and improve your relationships with these stakeholders. That all looks good and pretty, but at the end of the day, it's effectively just the process of keeping stakeholders satisfied. Sounds pretty easy, doesn't it? But if only that were true. There's lots of things that can go wrong. So let's touch on a few of the mistakes. One common mistake, I know I've been guilty of it hundreds of times, but I see quite a lot, is defining the stakeholders too narrowly. So, you're not engaging the right people, you're not thinking from different perspectives, and that ends up in stakeholders, coming to you saying, why wasn't I engaged? You forgot this, you forgot this. And it can get pretty scary sometimes knowing that you haven't engaged everyone. And yeah, I mean, one method to prevent this is to create a stakeholder map. So yeah, stakeholder map, I use this one here. This is the template I use, but there's heaps of them out there. Effectively, you divide your stakeholders up into 4 categories, and you've by low interest and high interest, and then low influence and high influence. And then you can kind of get a picture of who you need to satisfy, who you need to monitor, who you need to manage closely, and then the ones that just want to be kept informed. I found this really valuable in helping establish who I need to talk to on a big project. Next, a lack of communication can be pretty detrimental, or in contrast, too much communication. So let's start with a lack of communication. It's quite similar to the engagement piece, right? If you're not talking to the right people, or if you're not telling them the right things, then you're going to miss key risks or key consequences when you go to launch your product or your change. Another thing to consider as well is that not all stakeholders speak up. So obviously the ones that are loud and asking you questions are the ones that are interested. So that's cool, you deal with them. But then you've also got stakeholders that can be quite quiet and sit back. They're almost the hard ones, because you've got to work harder to get their approvals and their agreements. So you just got to be wary of that as well. And then, yeah, alternatively, too much communication can be detrimental as well. You've got to realize that while your project or your product means a lot to you, this is just one piece in someone else's job. They've got their own role, their own tasks that they want to do, and they don't want you coming nagging in their ear every 5 minutes about your project. So it's just about finding that balance. And a good way to do that is by coming up with a communications plan. An example of this could be, essentially you just want to map out your stakeholders and when and how you're going to engage with them. So it could be, some initial briefings at the start, chat to them again midway through, and then talk to them at the end. Or it could be, you can throw other things in here too. You might want to do some collateral updates. You've got to make sure you talk to the marketing team, a media release, and so on and so on. But yeah, I think this is another tool to go in the product manager toolbox when it comes to stakeholder management. And just going further on that, with the communication piece, pre-engagement is kind of a lifesaver. It's essential, I think. If you go back to that first scenario, imagine going into that meeting and people are coming to you with questions about your change, and it's all on you, you're in the spotlight. Imagine if you went into that meeting and you spoke for a couple of minutes, and then everyone just nodded and agreed with you, and you're out of there in 5 minutes. So that can happen if you approach some stakeholders, especially the difficult ones, and you just talk them through the change. You put yourself in their shoes. What kind of questions are they going to ask? And then you can get those big conflicts out of the way before you go to get those decisions. Thirdly, a mistake is being too optimistic, overpromising, under-delivering, and also making assumptions. So yeah, I'm sure you've all heard that phrase, overpromise, under-deliver. And unfortunately, I've been on the receiving end of that quite a lot, and I know how it feels. So when I'm engaging with stakeholders, I always make sure that I'm being straight with them. I'm taking ownership. I'm setting actions. I'm not going to let my stakeholders down. So key, I guess, things to help with this are planning, taking the time to note down what exactly you want from your stakeholders, what you want to talk to them about. And then secondly, taking actions is really good for this. So at the end of a meeting, highlighting what we're going to achieve after this meeting, and then also assigning owners to those actions. So the next time you meet with that group, you can go, okay, marketing, did you do your thing? Legal, did you do your thing? Risk, did you do your thing? And it keeps, just that accountability, and it keeps the project moving. And then lastly, another mistake, or not really a mistake, just a soft skill that I think people need to have more of is confidence. I'm not sure about you, but sometimes when I'm dealing with people more senior than me, or someone with a fancy title, I can get nervous and I just tend to nod and agree with whatever they're saying. And I end up overloading myself and walking out of there going, damn it, why did I do that? I should have spoken up a bit more. Or I think when I was a bit younger, not so much now, but you're in a meeting with some executives or some general managers, and I used to just sit there profusely sweating and all red in the face, and they'd talk to me and I'd go, I'll get back to you on that later, and it just felt really, I just walked out of there not feeling satisfied. So I think in the world of business, it can be hard. You can let titles get in the way of your thinking, trying to impress stakeholders. But I think you've just got to remember that saying no, you're allowed to say no. You don't have to say yes to everything. And also, you're the specialist in that product. Like, this is your project. This is your product. You're the one with all the technical skills and the knowledge. So just having that confidence to back yourself and go back to whoever's asking you the hard questions. You don't have to give them an answer right then and there. You can say, I'll come back to you via email on this one. And then, so that's kind of the key things I had. So let's just run through them in summary. We've got stakeholder maps to help establish our stakeholders and avoid defining them too narrow. And then a comms plan and pre-engagement can really help with those communication strategies. Thirdly, planning and setting actions helps keep people accountable, so that when it comes to deliver your product, there's no slip-ups. Everyone's done their part. And if there are slip-ups, you can identify them early. And then lastly, saying no and being confident. I can't stress the importance of confidence. So that's all from me. Hopefully, if you're a product manager, you can relate. And if you're not, hopefully you've learned something and can take something away from that talk. So thanks for having me.
Awesome.